This is Andhra Pradesh in India, one of the largest states in the country. It's home to more than 50 million people, two enormous rivers, and a thriving agricultural industry. But it's also known for a pair of problems you wouldn't expect to find in the same place: catastrophic floods and searing droughts. For nearly 100 years, engineers and governments have been trying to build something remarkable to address this critical issue, a gigantic project that would transfer water between flood and drought-prone areas, ensuring there's always the right balance. From a record-breaking barrier to a hydropower plant and sprawling canals, the result of a plan that's been around since the Second World War is now in full swing. As incredible as it appears, however, it's been tough going. Natural disasters, political clashes, and land acquisition challenges have set this project back decades. What started out as the lifeline of the region has, at times, seemed dead and buried. Now though, all hands are on deck to finish a build that's already been making some serious waves. Extending for almost 1,000 kilometers along India's southeast coast is Andhra Pradesh. A leading producer of rice and tobacco, the state is highly dependent on the weather. In a tropical monsoon climate like this, however, atmospheric conditions can be extreme across the region. Nearly 800,000 hectares of land experience regular flooding. That's an area 5 times the size of London, and in the last 2 decades, things have gotten worse. The flood in 2024 was so devastating that dozens of lives were tragically lost. Meanwhile, severe droughts are also a problem. 4 districts further to the west have experienced years of sparse rainfall, leading to a decline in crop yields and a lack of drinking water. So we have one region with a surplus of H2O and another where it's in short supply, all within the same state. If only there were some way to balance it out. Enter the Polavaram Project, stretching for more than 3.5 kilometers across the Godavari, India's second longest river. It will provide 720,000 acres of land with much needed irrigation, serve as a powerful flood defense, and generate a significant amount of power for the region. This incredible new infrastructure will effectively control this key section of the river. With it, water can be redirected to areas with insufficient supply when levels get too high. The project consists of several massive parts, and we'll begin by looking at the one that's most visible, the spillway. More than 50 meters high, it's an immense barrier equipped with 48 hydraulic gates that allow water to pass through when necessary, such as when flooding is imminent. And because these disasters can be intense, particularly around the Godavari, planners haven't taken any chances. The structure is designed to withstand and protect against the largest floods expected in the region, the kind that would occur only once in a millennium. Its discharge capacity of 5 million cusecs is higher than any other spillway on Earth. For reference, a cusec is a unit of measuring water equal to 1 cubic foot per second, measuring just over 1,100 meters horizontally. It's the largest spillway in the world, even surpassing the one at the Three Gorges Dam in China. Another record was set during its construction, unrelated to its length. In 2019, 32,000 cubic meters of concrete were poured in just 24 hours. No other project has ever deposited so much material in such a short time. One unique feature of this spillway is the fish ladder, an unusual structure built to one side. Spanning more than 250 meters in total, it allows fish to swim upstream to their breeding grounds during the monsoon season when water levels rise dramatically. Before any work on the spillway could begin, a massive channel had to be carved out of the riverbank. This created a new watercourse where the flow can be controlled by movable gates before being allowed to pass back into the Godavari River. As for the dam itself, which has yet to be fully constructed, it will span nearly 2.5 kilometers across the river, roughly parallel to the spillway. Made from a mixture of compacted earth and rock, it is being built in 2 phases, reaching a height of 45 meters. The dam will sit atop a concrete diaphragm wall, which is built into the ground to provide stability against the immense water pressure behind it, while preventing any leaks. However, there was a major setback. In 2019, a massive flood struck the region, causing water to surge up to the wall, washing some of it away. The damage was so severe that the government decided to restart the construction rather than attempt repairs. Work is currently underway, with a completion deadline of November 2025. Building such a dam can only be done in a dry area, which is why 2 cofferdams have been placed above and below the site of the new dam. These cofferdams are designed to prevent water from entering during construction, a challenge that became apparent in 2019. To be fair, they were only partially built at that time, but they have since been completed. Once finished, the dam will help form a new reservoir and direct water to the spillway on its journey down to the Bay of Bengal. But that's not the only route the water can take. A pair of giant canals will allow water to be sent east to reservoirs 180 kilometers away and west to the Krishna River. Yes, the project will also see the second and seventh longest rivers in India connected. The endpoints of these new canals are located close to some of the state's worst drought hotspots, which are mostly to the west, past the Krishna. However, not everyone is convinced that damming the river will be beneficial. Concerns have been raised that several villages in nearby Odisha are at risk of flooding once the project is completed due to backwater flowing upstream. Although solutions have been proposed, such as building an additional embankment and providing compensation, an agreement between the local governments has not yet been reached. Finally, there's the 960 megawatt hydro plant being constructed right next to the main dam. After all, if you're going to have all that water rushing around, you might as well try to harness some of its power. Although construction is still in its early stages, the holes for the penstocks, 150 meters long and 9 meters in diameter, are already clearly visible. A penstock is essentially a tunnel that directs water from a reservoir to a turbine, where electricity is generated. A staggering amount of effort is going into this scheme, so you can begin to understand why it hasn't been a straightforward process. However, few would have expected it to take almost a century to reach this point, with still years to go before completion. The Polavaram Project was originally conceived in the 1940s when India was still part of the British Empire. However, it wasn't until 1980 that the foundation stone was laid, and work didn't truly begin until 2004. The next few years were mostly spent on design, land acquisition, and obtaining approvals from multiple government departments, which took far longer than anticipated. Another decade passed before actual construction began at the main site. By then, the project had been granted national project status by India's central government, with a target completion date set for 2018. As you can see from this recent footage, that deadline was missed by a long shot. The question then is, what has caused the project to veer so far off course overall, especially when some aspects, like the pouring of concrete, seem to be going smoothly? Well, it's a combination of factors. Firstly, acquiring all the land has been difficult, and it's not hard to see why when you consider the impact on the local population. Unfortunately, in order to establish a project that will benefit millions, others have had to make big sacrifices. Entire communities have been relocated because their homes stood in the way of construction or the new bodies of water being created. We're talking about at least 200,000 people. Organizing permanent new places to live for so many individuals has not been easy, especially when around half are from tribes that have lived in the area for generations. Vast areas of forest are being submerged to build this new infrastructure, and there have also been disputes with neighboring states. Thirdly, changes in local government haven't exactly helped matters. Rival parties have been quick to blame each other for the lack of progress. After his recent re-election, Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu claimed his predecessor oversaw less than 4% progress in his 5 years in office. Finally, the main contractor has changed twice. Mega Engineering and Infrastructures Ltd is now in charge of the construction, but the fact that they haven't been involved from the beginning has caused delays. These factors, along with inflation, new environmental regulations, and changes to the design and scope of the project, have all contributed to the rising costs. When construction began more than 20 years ago, the estimated cost was $1.5 billion US. The latest total is around $3.5 billion US, but at one point it had exceeded $6 billion US. With this strict new target in place, hopefully, the people of Andhra Pradesh will soon see the completion of this critical scheme that has been ongoing for far too long. A piece of new infrastructure this large and complicated was always going to be difficult to deliver, but the Polavaram Project has, at times, been more of a liability than a lifeline. However, when it eventually crosses the finish line and the first floods and droughts hit the region, we'll know whether it's been worth the wait. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more from the Definitive Video channel for construction, make sure you're subscribed to us.